Let me tell you a story that most people do not want to hear because it does not come from the streets and it does not come from someone who made it out. This story comes from the people who had to sit still and watch someone they loved walk into a life they could not stop. We built a life that most people would consider ideal. We had structure, stability, and more than enough financial security to make sure our children never had to struggle. Our home was not perfect, but it was consistent, and it was filled with support, attention, and opportunity. Our daughter did not grow up lacking anything that we could provide. She had access to education, travel, and every advantage that money and planning could offer. That is what makes this story harder to understand, because nothing about her upbringing pointed toward the life she chose. She was not a problem child in the traditional sense. She did not come from chaos, and she was not reacting to abuse or neglect. There was simply something in her that never settled, something that made her restless in a way we could not explain or fix. When she turned 18, she did not run away in the middle of the night, and she was not pushed out of the house. She made a decision, and she walked out the front door with full intention. At the time, we believed she was choosing independence, because that is what most parents expect at that age. We were wrong. We did not learn the truth from her. We learned it from someone who was already living that life, a woman who reached out to us because she recognized who our daughter was and understood what she had stepped into. At first, we refused to believe it because it did not match anything we knew about our child or the life we had given her. Eventually, we found her. When we saw her standing on that corner, there was no confusion left. It was her, but it was also someone we did not recognize anymore. The way she carried herself, the way she looked at us, and the way she spoke made it clear that she was no longer connected to the life we had built. We approached her with everything we had as parents. We talked to her calmly, then emotionally, then desperately. We offered her a way back, a reset, and a chance to leave everything behind and come home to safety, stability, and support. She listened, but she did not respond the way we expected. She looked at us without anger, without fear, and without hesitation, and she told us something that changed everything we thought we understood about the situation. She said that this was her choice, and she did not want to come back. That was the moment we realized we were not dealing with a child who was lost. We were dealing with someone who believed she had found something she wanted, even if it was something we could not accept or understand. Over the next 3 years, we tried everything that parents can try when they refuse to give up on their child. We followed leads, responded to calls, and showed up anywhere we thought we could reach her. Every time we found her, we had the same conversation, and every time we left with the same answer. She was not coming home. The only time she reached out to us was when something had gone wrong in her world. There were moments when she needed money, moments when she was in legal trouble, and moments when someone had control over her and demanded something in return for her safety. We responded every time, not because we agreed with her choices, but because she was still our daughter. No matter how far she moved away from us, that connection never changed. At the same time, something inside our home began to shift. The constant tension that had been building slowly started to fade. The emotional weight that we carried every day began to lift, not because we stopped caring, but because we had to redirect our focus. We had 3 other children who were still present, still growing, and still depending on us to provide a stable environment. We reached a point where we had to make a decision that no parent ever wants to make. We had to stop chasing someone who did not want to be found, because continuing to do so was starting to affect everything and everyone else in the house. That decision did not come from a lack of love. It came from understanding that love alone cannot pull someone out of a life they are committed to living. As time went on, the house became quieter in a different way. There was less chaos, less fear, and more space for the other children to grow and develop without being overshadowed by a situation we could not control. That created a different kind of pain because we were experiencing peace at home while knowing that one of our children was still out in a world that does not offer protection, stability, or forgiveness. We still think about her every day. We still wonder how her story will end, and we still hope that one day she will decide that she wants something different for herself. At the same time, we understand something that took us years to accept. You cannot force someone to return to a life they no longer value, even if that life is safe, stable, and filled with people who love them. So now we wait, not for the next emergency or the next problem, but for the possibility that one day she will reach a point where she wants to come back. If that day ever comes, we will be here. But until then, we live with the reality that love does not always change the outcome. And sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is accept that you cannot save someone from a life they have chosen. So let me ask you something. Where are you listening from? And what would you do if someone you love made a decision that you could not undo, no matter how much you cared about them? Because situations like this do not come with clear answers, and they do not resolve themselves in ways that make people feel better. Sometimes they just continue, and the only thing you can control is how you respond to them. Watch more real stories like this on True Tales from the Let Me Pull Your Coat podcast. Because not every story ends with someone making it out. Some stories are about the people who are left behind.